Hello everybody, it's Nick here with Nick Tolman Music, and today is a special day, kind of a sad day, because it's actually our last lesson in our beginner guitar series using Mel Bay's Modern Guitar Method, Grade 1. Alright, so today's lesson is going to come out of page 47, but before we begin, first I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been following along, people who have left comments, those of you who have subscribed along the way. This has been a great project. I'm really excited to kind of come to an end on this part of the project. But just so you're aware as you're moving ahead, we're going to be continuing on with a lot of great guitar content. So in the next several months, I'm going to begin working on kind of filling in some lessons from Mel Bay 1. So this, obviously we used the original Mel Bay method for this series. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to go back and start filling in some lessons using the expanded edition. So if you've been looking at the expanded edition, or if you have that book and you realize, oh, maybe some of the lessons had been skipped because we're using the original edition, don't fear, because we're going to start doing lessons on each of those pages in the expanded edition as well. So that'll be a great resource for you if you need more help on specific concepts and things along the way. So be ready for that. Also, you can expect to see some lessons start to come out on book 2 of Mel Bay's Modern Methods. So I'm excited to get rolling with that as well. If you have used Mel Bay, but you're looking at other options, or maybe you've realized, Mel Bay is not quite for me, it's a little challenging, whatever that might be, I'm also going to begin some lesson series using the Hal Leonard guitar method, which I think is a great guitar method. It is definitely an easier method starting out. It doesn't take you as far in the first book as Mel Bay's book does, but it also moves a lot slower. So maybe if you've been struggling along the way, or this lesson series has been a challenge for you, think about checking out the Hal Leonard method. I'll leave the link in the description below, and I'm going to begin lesson series on that here very shortly. All right, so all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into our lesson today. So again, today's lesson is on page 47. There are 3 exercises on this page. First is running the thirds in G, second is a little bit of Hanon, and third is Southern Fried. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the first one. This is running the thirds in G with our metronome set at 72. 1 and 2 and ready and play. All right, that's a really straightforward exercise. It's basically what we would call a scale pattern. Now, if you're interested in more scale patterns, please check out my website, www.nicktolmanmusic.com. I love scale exercises and I love scale patterns. They're a great way to practice. They're a great way to develop dexterity in your fingers, but also just help you to kind of develop technique and coordination between your left hand and your right hand. So what we're doing is we're just going up the scale in thirds. So starting on a note, go up a third, then down a step, up a third, down a step, up a third, down a step. And that's exactly what's happening. Now, the only thing that you want to watch out for on this one is that we have that high A there at the end. So you'll notice that on that open E, the first note of the 4th measure, that's where I just shift. I just shift up to 2nd position. Then I play the G with my 2nd finger. And that makes that nice and smooth. And then it's just a real quick shift back to 1st position right away for the first note of the 2nd line. Okay, so slowly that looks like this. So starting on the 3rd measure of the 1st line, I'm going to show you what that shift looks like. Here we go, 3rd measure, 1st line. Right here. Real quick shift. Right? It's as easy as that. That's really the only funny thing in there that you might just need to watch out for. Other than that, just work with your metronome and build the speed. This should be an exercise that you try to play as quickly as you can without adding tension. All right, so let's go ahead and bump the metronome up to 120. You can hear what it sounds like a little faster. 1 and 2 and ready and... And there it is at 120. And obviously that is not your limit. You can go faster, and I would highly encourage you to do so. These kind of exercises are really great to just try to build that tempo, and really just develop your ability to play and to play quickly. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the next exercise, a little bit of Hanon. This exercise is very similar. It's another scale pattern exercise. Now, if you're not familiar with what Hanon is, that's okay. It might mean that you've never taken piano lessons before, or maybe you have taken piano lessons before, but Hanon is a very, very common finger technique exercise method for piano. So this exercise, this pattern comes from that book. It might even be the very first exercise in the book. It's very common, but it also works great for guitar. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. So this is a little bit of Hanon. I'm going to start at 72, and we're going to see what happens. Here we go. 1 and 2 and ready and play. And that is that. There's really nothing tricky about this. It's just a great exercise. So do your best to just kind of work through, start the metronome as slow as you need to get it just right, to have no tension, to play it smoothly and easily, and then slowly build that metronome up. Let's go ahead and try it at 120 on the metronome. 1 and 2 and ready and... And there we go. You'll notice I'm using all down up picking. I think for this one especially because it's mostly scale wise motion. I think that's the best approach. Down up, down up, down up, down up. And that's only going to give you the ability to play it faster and faster. You know, so whatever you need to do to kind of do that and keep that going, just use your metronome, slowly build yourself up, and before you know it, you're going to realize, oh man, I'm playing it a lot faster than I used to play it. Just use that metronome, it'll help you. All right, so here it is, the last exercise in the book. You've come a long ways. You may have been working on this book for a year, maybe 2 years. Who knows how long it's taken you to get to this point, but here you are. It's the last exercise in the book. Let's take a look at it. It's called Southern Fried. Let's go ahead and try it with our metronome at 72, and then we'll bump it up. So here we go, 72. 1 and 2 and ready and play. And there it is. All right, so let's talk about it. Okay, so this one is all about just kind of changing positions around. I think it's a really good like preface into book 2. As book 2, you're really going to start to see that happening more and more, where you're using more positions than just first position. We have done quite a bit in second in this book, but yeah, here we go. So it starts off with our standard B and D situation, which we've used a lot in the book, okay, with your second finger playing that B on the 4th fret of the G string, and then your first finger playing D, 3rd fret of the B string. Then you've got open. That finger shape is going to be really important in this. So open, now you're going to do the same shape, but for A and C. And it's going to slide up a fret for A sharp, C sharp, and then back to your original starting position. For B and D, open again, A and C, A sharp, C sharp. Okay, so that first measure looks like this, slowly. Right? It's the same finger shape, it's just sliding around, okay? Now we're going to keep that shape going into the second measure. We've got the B and the D. Again, it's all that same shape. So you've got your B and D alternated with an open D. Then you got your A sharp, C sharp, another open D, and then your B and D again. And then 3 open Ds. And then the third measure is just like the first measure. And then the fourth measure is just like the second measure. It just repeats. Almost, sorry. I repeat, it's almost the same. It doesn't go back up to the B and D. It kind of resolves down to that A and C. All right, so here's what the whole first line looks like slowly. I'll zoom in on the hand here so you can see what's going on. So this is the whole first line, nice and slow. Just like that. That's that same shape, it really just going the whole time, okay? All right, so moving into the second line, we're gonna start out with that same pattern again. Now, moving into the second measure of the second line, we start out with this C chord stack. Then I'm gonna play the high G with my 4th finger, open, and then an open E, C. All right. So for me, the first finger is really important here. Okay. So we've got the C stack, got the high G with the 4th finger, open E, C with our first finger, and then that first finger is just going to slide up 1 fret. So you're in place to get that A sharp, C sharp. Open G, and then E with our first finger. I'm just going to stay in second position. All right, so here's what that second measure looks like slowly. Right, that's all there is to it. And then the third measure, I'm staying in second position. Now I'm going to shift right here on this open D back to first position. Hit that low G, build my G chord, and just dramatically play that last note as you finish the book. It has really been great. Thank you so much for tuning into this lesson and all of the others. Please stay tuned for more lessons, more instruction coming from Nick Tolman Music, as well as a lot of other great things. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, I'm always trying to do music projects that interest me and that are fun. But check out more on my page. If you haven't checked out my website at www.nicktolmanmusic.com, please do. Also, if you have enjoyed this content, if you've found it useful and helpful to you as you've been learning guitar, please consider checking out my Patreon page and becoming a patron and supporting Nick Tolman Music. Thank you so much again. We will see you next time.